Hi, it's Kathy from Bishopstone Yarns, and I'd like to welcome you here to episode 53 of the Bishopstone Yarns podcast. If you're a returning viewer, hi, it's great to see you again. Sorry, it's been a couple of months since my last podcast. I have been working away, but for some reason I just haven't done a podcast in a little while. If you're a new viewer, it's great to see you. If you like the video, it'd be great if you give me the thumbs up and subscribe. And so I am coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island to the south of Australia. And this is mainly it's a fully crafting podcast, really. I don't really talk about much else. I might occasionally talk about a book or something, but it is really a crafting podcast. And as I said, I'm coming to you from Tasmania, and at the moment it is winter here. It is July and winter, and it has been very cold. The last few days down here have been incredibly cold. It's been very windy and very rainy, and because I live near the beach, we have had a lot of rain and wind coming off the ocean, so that seems to have made it even colder. But at the moment, it seems okay outside. Now, I usually podcast from the corner of my studio, but at the moment, I am coming to you from somewhere slightly different. I'm actually here at my kitchen table, which is where actually I have been spending most of my time crafting lately. Usually, I do a lot more knitting and other things, but at the moment I have mainly been working on I have been doing some cross stitching, and then I have been working on my quilt, but I will talk about those later. I think what I might start with is my cross stitch, which I've been working on each day. So each morning I was getting up and doing some work on my cross stitch. So I had started the second pack. So I had finished the 1 to 4 of the Prairie School Schoolers Santa's 12 Days of Christmas, and then I had moved on to days 5 to 8 of this. And I thought the best way to try and get through this was each morning when I get up and have my morning cup of coffee, I just sit here and work on my cross stitch, try and get some done and get into a pattern of doing some every single day, so I would get through it. So I'm really, really enjoying doing this. And so I have finished, I'll show you, I have finished days 5, 6, 7 and 8. You can see a little mark there where I've got my, where is it? Where I've had my hoop in there. I have just been using a wooden hoop for this. So as I was saying, so I have finished 5, 6, 7 and 8. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, which means I am 2/3 of the way through. I just have the next 4, or the last 4, to do, and I am hoping now that I have almost finished my quilt. Once I finish my quilt, I can get back into doing this, and hopefully I can get the last 4 done before Christmas. My hope is to try and get at least 1 done a month, and then I would be finished before Christmas. But of course I do actually have some other cross stitches I would like to start as well. I was hoping to do a couple of Halloween cross stitches, and I was hoping to do some cute little chickens that I had bought last time, but I think I'll just kind of work on this. I'm still trying to decide whether I'm going to keep these all together as one big piece or kind of cut them up and make them into separate little pillows that I could bring out, on the first day of December put one out, and the second day of December put the second one out. And I'm actually, at the moment at least, I'm quite liking the look of them all together as a piece, but then I'm not quite sure how that would just become, I guess, like a big wall hanging piece if I keep them all together like this. I'm not sure. I'll wait till I've finished the last 4, and then maybe you can give me some advice whether you think I should leave them all together or put them separately as little pillows so I can put them out each day. Don't know. But I am enjoying it. It's been lots of fun. The only thing I haven't done is some of the overalls and tops have got like little extra lines on them. Don't know if I can show you. Anyway, but like little pockets and bits and pieces. I haven't done that. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to add those in or not as it is at the moment. We'll wait and see. We'll see. But anyway, I'm happy that I've at least got the first 8 days of the 12 days of Christmas done. And then I will, having a little break from the cross stitch, finishing my quilt, which is here in front of me, which I'm going to have to try and work out how I'm going to show it to you later. And but I have been doing a little bit of knitting. So for those who have watched this before, you'll remember that I knitted, seem to have a loose thread on me now. I knitted these, I showed these last time, so I knitted a pair of socks for my daughter, and I had knitted her these short socks because she quite likes short socks, so I knitted those, and then I still had quite a bit of wool left over. So what I was using is the Motivera Not Just Socks 4-ply, and in colorway Berry it's called, and I am using, as soon as I find them, where are they? I was using 2mm the Knit Pro Zing double pointed needles. Now I usually for years and years and years have used circular needles and have always knitted my socks 2 at a time on circular needles, toe up. But for some reason just recently I have been using double pointed needles, knitting 1 sock at a time and going cuff down. I don't know why I started doing that, why I decided to do that, but now it seems to be my latest kind of little habit. So I'll probably move back to doing toe up again later when I get sick and tired of doing this way. But because I had quite a lot of this yarn left over, I decided that I would knit my daughter another pair of shorty socks. So these ones are even shorter. Don't know if you can kind of, let me see. Oh, sorry, these are the original ones. And then I knitted her a second pair, which are even shorter. So I should have put these on the sock blocker, but oh, it's been such a long time since I've done a podcast. I've forgotten everything. So there's the really short ones, and here's the almost not so short ones. So this one here, if you can kind of see the heel, I've really just gone straight from the cuff into the heel, whereas with the previous pair I had done the cuff and a little bit of a leg and then into the heel. So that was, for me, that was just a nice way to try and use up some of the extra yarn, and it also means that my daughter will get 2 pairs of socks for her birthday instead of 1. So what I have started doing is knitting my whole family a pair of socks for their birthday. So I have a few balls of wool, of sock wool, and so they can just choose the colours that they like, and then I'll just knit them a pair for their birthdays. And so far that's been working out quite well. I did that last year, so I knitted a pair for everyone else in the family, and I didn't knit a pair for me because I have a lot of socks that I've knitted myself over the years. And then I've just realised that actually quite a lot of the socks that I've knitted myself are getting a bit old. They're still fine, and they're still nice and warm. They don't have kind of like thin patches or anything, but the problem is that they're starting to lose, some of them are starting to lose their colour. They're just not looking quite as exciting as they once were. So I decided to knit myself a pair of socks. So this is the yarn that I decided to use for myself. And I found this little trick from, well, it's not a trick, but this little idea from watching a podcast which is Stitched by Mrs. D, who is a lady from the UK who knits a lot of socks and makes amazing bags, like knitting project bags and things like that. If you haven't seen her podcast, I'd suggest going and have a look. So she was talking about she pops her little tags for her yarn into her socks so that when she's talking about them, she remembers, she doesn't lose her band. So this yarn, I'll hold it up there. This is the yarn that it was. So what's that say? It's on live. It is a German kind of yarn. It is 75% superwash and superwash wool and 25% polyamide. And I don't know, it doesn't really say much about. So the colour is 967. I don't even know anything really much about this yarn, but there you go. That's the oh, it's not going to focus, is it? So that is maybe the colour is also called hiking, because it seems to say there hiking colour, super sock, but then half of this is in German, so it's a little hard for me to kind of fully understand. Anyway, so that was this beautiful, and as you can see from, I'm wearing my vanilla sweater here, which was designed by the Woolly Thistle, which is another podcast and shop who are in the US. So this is the Woolly Thistle vanilla sweater. So I love purple, and so I really like this yarn because it's got some kind of nice purple in there. And these are the socks, which the purple doesn't show up as much as I was hoping that it would, but I still quite like it. It's an interesting colorway. It's not quite what I was kind of expecting it to be, but I still really like it. Look like I've got like big long ears or something there. So there are a pair of socks for me, but see, same thing. I have all this yarn left over, so I'll have to find something to do with this. So the interesting thing about this yarn is, if I can see, you can see here, it's like a barber pole. It's got one black strand plied together with the multicolored strand, which is something that quite often in spinning, when we do hand spinning, we kind of can do a multicolored yarn, well, a single, and then ply it together with just a single black. Anyway, so that's my socks. Finally, a pair for me. The other thing I have been working on and finished is a jumper for my husband. So for those people who have watched the last podcast, you will already know this, but I was given a voucher to the wool shop in the northern suburbs of Hobart, and from my children for my birthday, and so I went and got some yarn. So this yarn here, I have to try and remember this. So this is the Bendigo Woolen Mills Black. It was called in colourway Raven, 5-ply. And then I had bought some 5-ply from the wool shop in this colour, which I don't remember what the colour is. You have to go back and have a look at my last podcast. I will tell the colour will be on that. And this jumper here is an Arne and Carlos design, and I just think it's called sweater. And it is, I'm pretty sure that part of this money goes towards, is it UNICEF? Children's UNICEF or something along those lines. If you look up on the Arne and Carlos website, on their website, you would find this. So I am really, really pleased with this jumper. I really, really like the design. The design shows up really well. And ta-da, it fits him well. Yeah, I think, I think I'm happy about everything about this. He hasn't worn it yet because I've been waiting to show all of you before he's allowed to go ahead and wear it. But the other thing was that when I had gone and got this yarn, I had also got some kind of like aqua coloured yarn for myself. And what I was going to do was make a his and hers, so like a matching one for me in the aqua and this colour as the top as well for me. But now I'm not sure. I really, really like this design. I think it's a really great kind of geometric design, but whether or not it's it's not really a design that I would usually wear. So I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that. I do have a few other patterns that I might make for myself instead. I do still have a couple of Caitlin Hunter's yoke kind of designs, and I have been eyeing off, oh gosh, I'm not so good at, is it Alpine? Is it called Alpine? Anyway, there's a few jumper patterns around at the moment that have got like flower motifs on them, and I quite like the idea of having a jumper with a kind of a more flowery kind of motif on it than rather this sort of a design. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to think about it. I've got a few other things to finish before I start a jumper for myself anyway. So that is one project that I'm really, really happy with. And somewhere down the track I'll get some photos of my husband wearing it, and so you can see how it fits. Yeah, beautiful. Really, really like it, and I'm really happy with how the colours go together. Really happy using up this black as well, which I have had in my stash for quite a while. I quite like Bendigo Woolen Mills wool. In the past I've knitted some vests and bits and pieces out of their wool, and yeah, but it's just that I'd had this black for a long time and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, so that's good. So the only other thing to talk about at this moment is my quilt, and I'm really not sure how to show you. I just pile everything away somewhere else. I'm actually just working, maybe I can just show you here. So this is just the back. This is the back of the quilt at the moment. So I am working on the Farmer's Wife sampler quilt, which is a group project that I've been working on with my local quilting group. And most of the fabric I have got, well, either had in my stash or have been given, or have found at kind of like garage sales. This backing material here I found at a local garage sale. Lady was, well, I think it was deceased estate, and this lady had a lot of material, and this was just part of that. And it was like it's kind of sheet size really, so I just thought I'll use that up. Same with the binding, which is what I'm working on at the moment. The binding here, even though it doesn't really look like it kind of goes with this, it's okay. I'm okay with it. I found that at local op shop, and so I've just been putting all of these bits. So I'm just binding at the moment, and I don't know that I can really show you the full quilt. I might try and pause later on in a minute and then just see if I can move the camera and show you the other side of the quilt. But so what can I say about the quilt? Well, before I show it to you, I can say that originally, well, when I finished the top of the quilt, I was really happy. Really happy with it. Well, I was happy it was finished, and I was happy that I had made all of the squares, and I had learnt quite a bit from making all these different squares. And actually, I still look at some of the squares and I kind of think, oh, I can't believe I actually made that one. And some of the pieces are really small, some of the designs, well, actually, all of the designs, I hadn't made any real quilt blocks before. So in specific designs and things. So yeah, I'm kind of really impressed that I was able to do that. And then I decided, well, I've got all the material here. I've got the backing. I've got some what's it called? The batting here. And I thought, well, originally I was going to go and get it professionally quilted, because I've never had that done. I've made a few quilts before, but I've never had them professionally quilted. So I thought, oh, that would be a really nice way to finish this off. But then I thought about it and I decided, no, maybe I should hand quilt it, because this is a kind of, well, this is a pattern that women had used to use up scraps of material to finish off their quilts. And the whole purpose of this was to have everything repurposed and reused. And then I thought, well, these women wouldn't have been sending their quilts off as well, so I'll save the money and I will quilt it, because I know also there's a bit of an expense in quilting, getting it professionally quilted. And then came the problem. I have not worked on such a big quilt, hand quilting, before. I looked at a few videos. I've done a few smaller pieces, smaller quilts. I had quilted a couple of my bed-size quilts before on my sewing machine, but I hadn't hand quilted an entire quilt before. And that has been a huge learning curve for me. I knew to start in the middle. I'd watched some videos. I first started off by trying to use a hoop, and then I found that I just couldn't get the hoop to work. Like I can embroider with a hoop and use that, but I just could not manage to hand quilt and use the hoop. So then I saw a video where a lady was using it on her lap. So I tried that and I thought, oh, well, this is working okay. I can kind of put it on my lap and hold, put my hand underneath, hold it and kind of sew. And I was getting enough leverage that I could do that. I went out and bought myself a special thimble, which actually works really well for me. I put it on this finger and I found that worked really well. I have been using this needle here, and so everything like that was working. And then I did the first few blocks, and then I realized that having it on my lap and holding it like this and doing it, even though I had placed all three pieces together and had lots and lots of oh God, the word's gone out of my mind. I had what are they called? Safety pins. I put heaps and heaps of safety pins over it. By scrunching it up, it just kind of lost a bit of that tension, and bunched up in some places. And then because they're all squares, I was doing each individual square and then doing a bit of embroidery and then moving on to the next one and then hand quilting around that. And then I realized that's probably not the best way to go, that the better way to go would be to follow the lines of the quilt and actually do long stretches across the quilt, while at the same time, still doing the inside of each block. So once I then decided that if I laid the entire quilt out on my kitchen table and then just worked at it from the table, put my hand underneath while it's actually laid out flat on the table, held it, and then did my sewing from here, that the tension was so much better. I felt like I could really control it a lot better, because before I started doing that, I actually got to a point where I kind of was so disheartened that I was really wondering what I was doing, why I was doing this. And even though there are bits that are still, I can't quite show you, but there's some bubbly bits and the stitches are not perfectly even, and that kind of annoyed me for a bit as well, because I do like my stitching to be nice and even. And so there were a lot of things that I kind of went, I wasn't happy with, and I didn't like the look that on the other side, when I had finished the top of the quilt, everything was nice and flat, and once you start hand quilting, you get these bubbles and ripples in the quilt, and I didn't really like that look. It wasn't really, I was expecting everything to be nice and smooth and flat. And then actually after a little while, I actually decided that, you know what, I'm not putting this in a show. I'm not having this out there on display. This is just something for me, and I would rather have a finished quilt that, okay, it has quite a lot of imperfections in it, but I would rather have something finished that I can use, that I can have and enjoy, rather than stress about the fact that it's not how I had wanted it to look. And the fact that my skills, I mean, I don't have those skills, but I can see from the very beginning of my hand quilting to the end of my hand quilting, I have got better, and I've learned a lot from doing that. So I think that's what this process is all about. Well, it is for me. And as I said, this is never going in a show, because it wouldn't even get through the door. But I'm impressed with it. And I'm impressed that actually when I came around to doing the binding, I thought, oh, well, at least the binding is nice and even and simple. It looks good. This is something that I can control very easily. So I like my binding. I'm very happy with that. Yes. So I might pause now. I think that's probably enough for now. I will probably look enough. Even I'm still getting bits of thread everywhere from the quilt. I guess I'll have to do a separate, when this is fully finished, I'll have to do a separate just little quick video on this quilt by itself, because it has taken me a couple of years to get to this point. So I am really, really looking forward to having a finished quilt and not having it just half finished and put away in a cupboard somewhere where I'm not going to think about it. At least it's going to be finished and I can use it, and it has been enjoyable, even though at one moment there I was quite saddened by my lack of skills. But what can you do? You've got to practice to get better, and so that's what I've been doing. I did end up hurting my finger. Oh, I can't really show you, but like it's this finger here had got, sometimes I would start quilting and then forget to put my thimble on, and then of course the needle, and then I'd hurt my finger and then I'd have to put the thimble back on, and I don't know. Anyway, it has been a lot of fun. I would like to say thank you for watching. I will try and pause this and try and move the camera so I can show you the quilt. I hope everyone is staying nice and warm wherever they are and enjoying what crafting they're doing. And hopefully I'll talk to you in not quite as long as it has taken me to get around to doing this one. But keep crafting. Bye.